Here's a question that ends more dinner table arguments than politics does: should you rent or should you buy? And almost everyone answers it with a gut feeling instead of a calculator. Renting is throwing money away, buying ties you down for 30 years. Both of those statements sound smart, both of them are incomplete. Today, we're going to build the actual math behind this decision step by step, so by the end of this video, you'll be able to run the numbers for your own city, your own situation, and know exactly which side of the fence you should be standing on. I'm the host of Crestora Capital, and if you want more videos that turn confusing money decisions into simple frameworks, hit subscribe. Before we get into it, because this one's going to get detailed, let's start with renting, because it's actually the simpler side of the equation. When you rent, the total cost is just whatever you hand your landlord that you never see again. If your rent is $2,000 to $100 a month, multiply that by 12, and you're looking at $26,000 for $100 a year that walks out the door and never comes back. Simple, clean, no hidden layers. Owning a home is where things get more complicated, because the cost isn't just your mortgage payment, it's your mortgage payment plus property taxes plus maintenance, plus something most people never even think about: the opportunity cost of your own money. To make a fair comparison between renting and owning, we need to convert all of that into one clean monthly number and stack it directly against your rent. There are three pieces to this puzzle: property taxes, maintenance, and the cost of your mortgage itself, which actually breaks down into two separate parts we'll get into in a minute. If you own property in the US, you owe a percentage of that property's value to your state or local government every single year. The national average property tax rate sits around 1.1%. So let's run an example with a $450,000 home at 1.1%. That's $4,950 a year in property taxes alone, money you will never see again, whether the market goes up or down. Most financial experts recommend setting aside 1 to 2% of your home's value every year just for maintenance, repairs, replacements, the stuff that breaks when you least expect it. Let's use 1% for simplicity on that same $450,000 home. That's another $4,500 a year gone, regardless of whether anything actually breaks that year. So far, property taxes and maintenance combined come out to roughly 2.1% of the home's value every single year. And that's before we even touch the mortgage. This is where most rent versus buy videos stop. And it's exactly why most rent versus buy videos give you the wrong answer, because a mortgage payment isn't just one cost, it's two costs stacked on top of each other: the cost of your down payment and the cost of your debt. Let's say you buy that $450,000 home with a standard 20% down payment, that's $90,000 out of pocket, and you finance the remaining $360,000 over 30 years. Here's the part people miss: that $90,000 you just put down isn't sitting there doing nothing. It's money that could have been invested somewhere else. Historically, the stock market has returned around 7% per year. After adjusting for inflation, residential real estate on average has appreciated closer to 2% per year. After inflation, that's a gap of roughly 5% per year. So that $90,000 down payment isn't just a down payment, it's $90,000 that could have been earning an extra 5% annually somewhere else on its own. That's about $4,500 a year in what economists call opportunity cost. Then there's the actual interest on the loan itself. On a $360,000 loan, at today's rates, interest alone can easily run you $25,000 in a single year, especially in the early stretch of the mortgage. Add those together, the $4,500 in opportunity cost plus roughly $25,000 in interest, and you get about $29,500 a year in what we'll call the true cost of capital as a percentage of the home's value. That works out to roughly 6.5%. Now let's stack everything up: property taxes at 1.1%, maintenance at 1%, and the cost of capital at 6.5%. Add those three together, and you land at roughly 8.6% per year. That number is your rule of thumb. Here's how you use it: take any home price, multiply it by 8.6%, and divide by 12. That's your true monthly cost of owning that home. So on our $450,000 example, that's $38,700 a year, or about $3,225 a month. That means if you can rent a comparable home in your area for less than $3,225 a month, the math is telling you renting is currently the better financial move, at least for right now. Now here's where I have to be honest with you, because this rule is powerful, but it isn't perfect, and if you only take the math at face value, you'll miss half the picture. First, this assumes people are rational, assumes that if you rent instead of buy, you'll actually take that $90,000 you saved and invest it wisely instead of spending it. In reality, Most people want a mortgage is basically a forced savings account building equity whether you feel disciplined that month or not. Second mortgages don't charge the same interest every year. Early on, most of your payment goes toward interest, later it flips, and most of your payment builds equity, so the true cost of owning actually gets cheaper the longer you stay in the home, which this simple rule doesn't fully capture. Third, at the end of 30 years you own a tangible asset that can appreciate significantly. Meanwhile, a renter has been making payments for 30 years and has nothing to show for it but receipts. And fourth, we haven't even touched mortgage interest tax deductions, which can meaningfully lower your real cost of ownership depending on your tax bracket and how much interest you're paying. There are also upsides to owning that have nothing to do with spreadsheets. Fixed mortgage payments mean predictable budgeting. While rent can spike whenever your lease renews, you get full control to renovate without asking permission. You can't be forced out because a landlord decided to sell, and inflation actually works in your favor over time since your fixed payment stays the same while the value of that dollar amount shrinks. Renting has its own real advantages to total flexibility to move whenever life changes, zero responsibility for repairs or taxes, and in a lot of cities access to amenities, gyms, pools, security that would cost a fortune to have in a home you own. So here's the real takeaway. There's no universal right answer here. There's only the right answer for your numbers, your city, and your timeline. If you're planning to stay somewhere less than 5 years, renting usually wins. If you're planning to stay 10-20 years, owning usually pulls ahead because that 30-year asset starts working heavily in your favor. Run your own numbers using the framework we just built. Your local property tax, rate your local home prices, your local rent prices, and you'll know exactly where you stand. If this broke down rent versus buy in a way that finally made sense, do me a favor and hit subscribe right here on Christora Capital. Drop a comment telling me whether you're currently renting or owning, and I'll see you in the next video.